a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, and welcome to the first Thursday of the month of August. A thirsty Thursday indeed for mischief and mayhem. And my mischief and mayhem favorite playmate is none other than Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. You can hear Matt from 4 to 6 Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time at WMNH 95.3 in Manchester, New Hampshire, or you can go to mattconnerton.com or ipmnation.com, and you can get on the you can listen to the show, you can send in your comments, you can call in, text in, send smoke signals. Matt reads them all, and you can be part of his, 2 hours, his two hours a day at the circus. But Matt comes here once a month where we mostly kick around what's going on politically in the larger and greater world, and kind of just see what's up. I mean, you can never tell. I think our last show, half the time we spent about talking about everything and anything but politics, but we still got some stuff in, so it's always an adventure. If you'd like to be part of the conversation here on the Dr. Kevin Show with myself and Matt Connarton, you may do so by calling in at 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. Call in with your comments or your questions. Just remember, we just ask for them to be respectful. That's it. Matt, how are you these days?
Good. Did you say mayhem?
Mayhem, madness and mayhem. Mayhem, yeah.
Mayhem. All right, I was just checking. I'm good. How are you?
We've got some new stuff coming up. I'm starting a new series, which I don't know. I mean, Jenny would be interested in. You should tell her about it. I don't know about you. So I don't know. You can be interestingly funky at times. So on this coming up Sunday, August 6th, we are doing something called SIP for the spiritually curious. And it's a spiritual integrative panel to sip the spiritual tea, spiritual truth. And we're going to do one a month. I'm hosting the whole series. Every month we have a different group of spiritual teachers and healers and speakers, and we have a subject. And we each speak on the subject for about 10 minutes, and then we open it up for questions. So this is why we're calling it for the spiritually curious. It's to cover a number of different things. It's on Zoom. It's free. We're really trying to get out good information out there. And I know there's a lot of crappy information on the internet. Mm-hmm. And we know there are a lot of people that are more showman than shaman that are peddling spirituality and religion kind of as a sideshow. And so I came up with this idea, reached out to some of the people, and so 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, hour and a half, just depending on how many questions we get. The first one is psychic or psychotic is the first show. Then in September, we're doing one called Gut Soul. If so, what does it look like? And then we're going to do one on heaven and hell, one on past lives, and the final one for the year, the last one will be on angels. But just once a month. And again, we're putting it out there for free. We're trying to just invite people who go, I'd just like to ask some questions, and I'd like to hear some different perspectives, because the whole goal is the people on the panel, Matt, are not going to agree. I mean, like, we're not carrying and this is the standard bearer for our religion, blah. Yeah. We want to expose people to different ways that different people that are out there doing the work look and think about things and answer questions. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm curious about that first one. What is it, psychotic or psychic?
Yep, psychic or psychotic.
Oh, psychic or psychotic. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, well, you and anybody else listening can go to NewHampshireMetaphysical.com, sign up, get the Zoom link. Again, it's free. We're kind of talking, I chose that title, I'll be very honest, one, because it was a good marketing choice, because it grabs people's attention.
Yeah.
The other is that there has been a long history of, especially in the medical profession, of, thinking that anybody who thinks they're psychic is actually suffering from some kind of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I know that's one of the things I want to talk about and challenge. In fact, I'm challenging it in one of my latest books, which, Yahoo, I finished the final edit of today.
Oh, really?
Sweet Jesus, thank God.
That's the name of the book?
My publisher tomorrow.
Oh.
No. No, it's the LGBTQIA mainstream romance that I wrote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote it last year and it came out really quickly, and then I had to edit it, and then my spring and early summer got completely kidnapped with like 5 chapters left to edit at the end. And finally this week I sat down and got to them. So I'm meeting with the publisher tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to get this book back on track and get it out there. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. But in there, one of the characters has a family history of people in their family treated as mentally ill because they were psychic. I mean, it's one of the minor plot points I have in the book, because even though it's an LGBTQIA romance, I have a lot of stuff about, the damage that religion can do. I tackle stuff like homophobia and racism. I really, it's a full book. Let's put it that way.
So you're not, this book, it doesn't sound like it's geared toward necessarily the Florida market.
Oh, well, I think there's a lot of people in Florida that should read it. I think they should be tested on it. And if they flunk the test, I think they should be sent to Hungary.
All right. Fair enough.
So anyways, yeah. So that's what's going on. I finally finished the edit of the book today. Woo! And I've got the first sip on this Sunday, and we'd love to have you and Jenny tune in. You can be hanging out and 4:00, both watching it, seeing if it's vibing, and please share it with anybody that is spiritually curious.
And how do we get to that again? It's on your website?
NewHampshireMetaphysical.com is the easiest way. New Hampshire, NHMetaphysical.com. Okay. You can go, and it's an event, and you can get the Zoom link. It's also in the New Hampshire Metaphysical Facebook page. At some point, it was promoted on the Kevin Ross Emery Facebook page. It's out there. I can certainly, if you have any trouble, text me and I'll make sure I send you a link. But you shouldn't have any trouble. We've been running it in all the different social media platforms. So if you look for it, you shouldn't have a hard time finding it. And if you do, I may need to fire my social media team and hire a new one, because they're not doing their job if you can't find it.
That's right.
So tell me so how is life as a former political operative and now a man of music?
I've never been a political operative. What?
Political commentary. Political.
Oh, well, there's no former. I mean, that's still what we do. We just do a little bit more, actually a lot more music than we used to. But no, we still do plenty of politics. Today was almost all politics, except we did have we had the world radio premiere of the new single Hipster Dipster from the band Jerry and the Scumbags. And my show is actually mentioned in the lyrics of the song, which is very cool. But we talked about today on the show, of course, a lot about, a historic day, Trump's arraignment. And we have, you're familiar with Marianne Williamson, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's coming on the show in studio. She'll be here Friday, August 18th. She's coming in for an interview. So really looking forward to that. That just got confirmed today.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
for you.
Yeah, Jenny. Jenny does all the booking, and she's really doing a great job.
Yeah, well, she hasn't reached out to me lately.
Well, you're always welcome.
No, I know. I'll just show up. I'll be there August 18th. Who are you kidding?
There you go.
Yeah. She's got some interesting. I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what she says, like what she would like to do politically. Yeah. I don't know how feasible it is. And, so it's kind of one of those, it's one of those dreadful things which you refer to and I tend to get on your case about. But if you want your vote to count, there's a minimum amount of criteria that it's going to count when you vote. Now, if we had rank and file voting, I would absolutely consider voting for her with a rank and file choice underneath her. I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't studied her whole platform, but the things she said I've liked. How familiar are you with her her what she wants to do if she gets elected?
I think she's to the left of Biden. I think she's essentially more of a socialist. I'm not so much familiar with her specific positions, but I do recall, and I talked about this on the show too, she was on that debate stage in 2020. Nobody took her too seriously, and of course she didn't have a chance, and she has no chance now. Obviously, Biden will be the nominee, of course. But I remember at the time making the observation that, I don't think she was very impressive during those debates, but that format is not for everyone, especially when you're not a polished politician. It's hard to get across an idea or a policy position, especially when you're kind of the new kid there, in a minute, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it is that you have to speak, and the menial amount of time that you have to speak. But then later, I did see her in a couple of long-form interviews on different podcasts and got to get more of a full picture of her and who she is and what she believes, and actually find her to be very impressive. So in the right format, I think she's very impressive, very intelligent, knows her stuff, knows history very well. And I'm really looking forward to getting to sit down with her. I don't know if she's staying for the full 2 hours or what the plan is exactly. We'll find out. But I've been impressed by what I've seen of her on other programs.
So if you or Jenny can send me the announcement of her being on the show, I will hand it over to my team to put it through all of our social media feeds that would probably be very wanting to hear her. Because I've got a lot of social media feeds that specifically go after the spiritual community. And so, get me something before she's there, and I'll have my people put it out and place it in all the different places where we might be able to drum up some new listeners for you because of you having her on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's a perfect match. So, okay. So let's talk about today's indictment. Let's talk about Jack Smith. Let's talk about how things are worded and what your thoughts are. I mean, there's definitely some stuff to unpack here.
Yeah, geez, where do you want to start? I don't even know where to start. There's so much. Well, I mean, I'm a couple of things that are, I guess what's most intriguing to me at the moment is, are we going to see during the trial, are we actually going to see Mike Pence testifying against his former boss, which I think we are likely to see, which will be fascinating because not only was Pence Trump's Veep, but also a current political opponent for the Republican nomination. So that's something that I'm particularly intrigued by. And the other thing that I'm particularly intrigued by at the moment is, are we going to see Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, testify? I suspect that we will. And is Mark Meadows, in fact, a cooperating witness, which I suspect that he is. So those are the two elements of this that I'm the most intrigued by at the moment, and can't wait to see how those particular things unfold.
So it's interesting because I think you're right. We're going to see Pence on the witness stand.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike some people who were able to blow off the request from Congress, this is not a, I don't feel like showing up type of situation.
Right.
Yeah. Their ass is going to get thrown in that chair whether they wanted to or not.
Right. Absolutely.
And what will be funny, well, so first of all, I wonder, knowing this is coming down the pike, Pence went on and basically went at Trump on Fox yesterday. Did you see that? By going at Trump, what do you mean exactly? Because even at his most vicious, Pence is pretty mild, and in my opinion, generally comes across as an empty husk of a man, incapable of any sort of anger or passion or putting any force behind anything he says. Why? What? No, so no, I didn't see specifically that. What did he say? I didn't see it either, so I've only read the headlines.
Oh, okay.
But Pence made it clear that he didn't think Trump was fit to be president based on what they were saying from this.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That anyone who puts himself over the Constitution cannot be president, something like that.
Yeah, and this, for Pence, that's being outspoken.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. I talk about Pence a lot on my show, and that I just find him to be very sort of. I find Mike Pence. Well, on the one hand, I appreciate his courageousness on January 6th and doing the right thing, but in every other way since then, I find him to be somewhat of a pathetic figure, mainly because he has acknowledged that Trump, with his words, put him and his family, his wife and his daughters, in danger on that day, and yet can barely, he struggles to muster up even the faintest criticism of Trump over that. And he usually says, well, I just think the former president got some bad legal advice, and kind of blames it on the lawyers after also acknowledging that Trump put his own wife and daughters in jeopardy on that day. So I find Pence to be kind of pathetic. I mean, especially given he comes from a Christian patriarchal background where, the father and the husband is supposed to be the protector, and yet watching him continue to sort of walk on eggshells because he doesn't want to upset anybody in the MAGA cult by criticizing the guy who caused people to actually chant, "Hang Mike Pence," on January 6th. It's like, the bar has become unbelievably low in terms of, Pence really what we think of as Pence being somehow forceful or critical of Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, part of it is this was probably the most bold, the closest to a bold statement that Pence has meant, which is
right.
Bold for Pence. But I think that now, maybe I'm giving Pence too much credit, but I'm wondering if he sees the handwriting on the wall that he's going to be forced to be testimony. That testimony is going to come out. And if he doesn't start getting a little further away from the milquetoast at Trump, then any hope he has, which is zero, but any hope he has of actually getting the nomination, even if Trump gets convicted and ends up in jail and is unable to run or loses the nomination because of it. I think that that there's a little bit of a strategy of he's got to get a little bit more riled up at what's happening here, or Trump's going to just take him down in flames with it. And it was enough riled up that Trump immediately went after him on social media because, of course, Trump is so ticked off. He's just looking for people to barbecue right now. And of course, there is so little courage or integrity left in the GOP right now. They're also afraid of the Cruz effect. Like he emasculated Ted Cruz, who then follows him around like a puppy dog with a brown nose when you can see it, when he pulled it out of Trump's butt.
Yeah.
And so he's really whipped that Republican Party. They're all like whipped dogs.
Oh, yeah.
But so I just, so that was my thought on the Pence perspective. Somebody may have said, you got to start to shift this a little bit because the guy could crash and burn. And if you're still looking like you're defending him, there's not going to be any, you will go down with that plane. So I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, maybe, but it's not going to. It's not going to matter. Even if Trump does crash and burn, Republicans will never forgive Mike Pence for not trying to overturn the election. So it's not going to make any difference. I mean, I know what you're saying. If Trump crashes and burns, Pence wants to be the guy in theory. But even if Trump crashes and burns, he'll still be the nominee. Even if Trump ends up in prison, he'll still be the nominee. I mean, every bad thing that happens to Trump, he tells these people, well, he was saying today, it's actually a great honor to be indicted because he's being indicted for all of you. I've never seen anything like it. He's got them all convinced that, they're not just after him, they're after all of us. And they believe it. They eat it up. And, it's amazing. I mean, his numbers are going up in the polls among Republicans. And he just raises more and more money. So this is all still very positive in terms of Trump's quest for the nomination. It's not great in that he could end up in prison, but it is great for him in terms of the nomination. He will be the nominee. I'm more sure of it than ever because he only gains support among Republicans.
Now, is there anything in these? There's, Rachel Maddow did a rant the other day about history looking back and saying, not what did this man do, but how did this man ever get elected? Like what went wrong in America that this man got elected? So so none of these charges, if he gets found guilty, would interfere with him running for office. Because I haven't studied the charges enough to know, because there are some things, if you are convicted of, it eliminates you from being able to run for public office. But I don't think Jack Smith went after conspiracy, which would have eliminated his ability to run for office. But none of the other four do.
I don't believe there's anything that prohibits him at all. Unless he were to take a plea deal, and part of the plea deal was he can't run for president, but he's not going to do that. I didn't know this until recently, but actually, this is stunning to me, but 90%, if I remember this correctly, 90% of federal cases do end in a plea deal. Because the Department of Justice doesn't fool around. If they don't think they can get a conviction, even if they know or suspect that you've done something pretty bad, if they're not almost 100% sure that they can get a conviction, they don't waste their time charging you. So 90% of these cases never go to trial. They end up in a plea deal. And then the other 10%, they usually end up with a conviction. But he's not going to take a plea deal.
No. I mean, I know there are certain things that bar you from running for office. I mean, it's not, there are some things. I just don't know what they are. And
yeah, me neither.
I asked the question. Yeah.
And I was pointing out on my show today, too, it's more, people being in legal trouble running and winning elections is more common than people might realize. For example, Ken Paxton, the now former Attorney General in the state of Texas, he was under federal indictment for quite some time and still ran and still won. And, it all caught up with him finally, but it took years. And Texas voters had no problem while he was, under indictment, had no problem voting for him. It's pretty remarkable.
So we will be back in just a moment as we talk about some possible outplays of this indictment and then other things that are going on in the world today with my co-host, Matt Connarton, here on The Dr. Kevin Show.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, 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 and welcome back for the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes, where we're changing the world. Wait for it, one ohm at a time. Our call-in number today, as always, is 202-570-7057. Call in and be part of the conversation. My co-host for this show, as most usual, is Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. You can hear Matt 4 to 6 Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time on 95.3 WMNH, Manchester, New Hampshire, or you can go to mattconnerton.com or IPMNation.com. You can tune into his show. You can even IM or text or do whatever to ask your questions to be part of his three-ring circus. So I tried on break to look, and I couldn't find what it was easily. And I'm just really curious as what is it? There are certain things that if you are convicted of, you cannot run for office, but I can't find what they are. Have you looked at the charges? Go ahead.
I think if you're convicted of sedition, then you can't run. If you're convicted of some sort of sedition or treason. I think that's it. I think that's the only thing.
So, and that I know that was not one of the charges.
Right.
Have you had a chance to look at the charges that he actually filed? And do you think that they are going to, that any one or all, any of them are stuff that they can make stick? We're looking at it right now. What do you think?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. I don't remember how they're all worded, but basically to kind of sum up what they are is he's being charged with trying to overturn the 2020 election illegally. And, we should clarify too, because this has been kind of shorthanded in the media to a large extent, although some of the mainstream media is trying to correct this. But it's been kind of shorthanded as being the January 6th investigation or a January 6th trial. January 6th is a part of this, a piece of this puzzle, but really it's not about January 6th. It's about the effort to overturn the 2020 election. And, that's really what he's being charged with. And a lot of it seems to center on, did he know that it was all BS, what he was claiming? Because part of the defense is, at least what I see publicly, I don't know what will be said in court when the trial eventually starts, but at least publicly, the defense right now seems to be, or what people are speculating the defense will be in court, is that he honestly believed that he was acting in good faith, that he honestly believed that the election had been stolen, and that it might not be as easy as we all assume for prosecutors to prove that, no, in fact, he did know that he was acting in bad faith and that the election had not been stolen. But I'm pretty sure it's going to, multiple people are going to testify in court that, yeah, of course he knew. He knew. Cassidy Hutchinson, who had worked in the White House, she said during the January 6th committee hearings, she said that Trump had acknowledged that, that he knew that the election was stolen. And everybody who was around him has said they told him that it was BS, that the election had not been stolen. So it will be up to federal prosecutors to try to prove that he knew that what he was doing was wrong. But that's not a slam dunk necessarily, although probably pretty likely. What is apparently not included in the indictment is, because part of the defense too has been, well, he has a free speech. He has a First Amendment right to say whatever he wants to. So if he wants to go out and claim that the election was stolen, whether he's being truthful or acting in bad faith, it doesn't matter. He has a right to say whatever he wants to say publicly. And that is not, there's nothing about that, at least I don't think there is in the indictment. So they've avoided that. So they seem to be, there's a sense that they're only going for charges that they know they can prove in court. And it might be difficult to overcome the First Amendment argument that the defense would make or will make. But so that's not included in the charges, at least I don't think it is. So it seems to really hinge on his efforts to illegally and with consciousness of guilt actually overturn the 2020 election.
Well, I get a somewhere I read that part of this, because they were very careful that it was not about his free speech, but that he actively made plans with the knowledge that he had not won and was involved up to his eyeballs in the fake elector scheme, because one of the charges is against, trying to interfere with the Americans' right to vote and be represented. I don't know what the exact language is. And that he was part of the fake elector scheme to do that. And they caught something on tape or somewhere where he was trying to, where he said to Pence about being a little less honest.
Yeah. He told Pence, "You're too honest." Yeah.
Yeah, that you're too honest. And then there was a clip, and this, so much has unfolded. It's like a shit stream. It's like one of the flash floods in California of stuff coming out about this. But he was caught on audio tape admitting he had not won. And that came up, and there was a big hullabaloo for about 24, 36 hours, and then something else came out, and then that became the big hullabaloo. But there was a voice recording of him acknowledging he did not win. And I remember it, and I remember I was like, oh, but it came up and it almost went away right afterwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they have his voice saying, of course he's going to tell his people, that was AI, that wasn't me, that was they just had one of those really talented voiceover actors pretending to be me. But and unfortunately, there's a large swath of those people who will believe it.
Right.
But yeah, I do remember he was on voice tape caught, and then there was Cassidy, and there was 2 or 3 other people who, he acknowledged it to, but, then tried to twist it in, but that's not really the will of the American people. But, the problem is he could probably pass a lie detector test because we know he's a narcissist and he believes everything he says.
Right.
And people with certain types of mental illness can lie and pass a lie detector test because in their head, they're really convinced it's the truth.
Oh, absolutely.
So, it will be interesting. Now, here's the question is, if he gets the nomination, and I know you're like, he's going to get it. And so that's not the debatable point here. If he gets it, can he swing enough of the independent voters with these kind of convictions to vote for him?
Well, the thing is,
the Republicans voting for him is not enough.
Right. Well, what I've always said is that while all of these legal problems help him in terms of getting the nomination, but then hurt him in the general election, because he's not going to pick up any new people, suburban Republicans who are more moderate, and of course are even right-leaning independents and whomever else that he needs, who maybe decided to go for Biden in 2020. They're not going to change their minds now and say, oh yeah, maybe I will take a look at Trump for 24. so he's not expanding his base. He's just consolidating his support among them. But there's a big wild card here, and I haven't heard anyone else talking about this. I might be the only person in all of media who has brought this up. But what if something happens with Biden that makes people really worried about voting for Biden? For example, Biden is about the same age as Mitch McConnell, and you saw what happened to Mitch McConnell, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about that afterwards. Go ahead.
All it would take for Trump to be elected president would be for something like that to happen with Biden. For example, say Biden freezes up like that, maybe during a speech or worse, during a debate. He's on that debate stage across from Trump, and Biden has a moment where he just completely seizes up for 23 seconds. Then it's over. Trump will win if anything like that happens. That's a big worry for me because, like I said, Biden's about the same age as McConnell. And, you get in your 80s, things like that happen. The wheels do start to fall off a little bit. And, and I don't think Biden should be running anyway. My attitude is, thank you, sir. Thank you for getting us through the pandemic. Well done. And you can go now. That's been my attitude all along. Man, there's a lot that could go wrong. So anybody who says, oh, well, Biden beat him once, he'll beat him again, and it's a slam dunk, and I would not be too cocky about it. And also, too, with the Electoral College, Trump could lose the popular vote, but the way the electoral map works, he could certainly win elections. So, I wouldn't take it too lightly.
So now Trump is only what, 3 years younger than Biden?
I believe 3.
3 years.
Yeah, I believe he's 3 years younger.
So just to have a moment of unrequited joy and happiness, what happens if it's Trump that freezes on the debate stage?
Well, that would be preferable.
Mitch McConnell. Yeah.
That would be something.
I mean, this man eats the most god-awful diet and does nothing to take care of his health and is too arrogant to think he could get sick or die. Mm-hmm. And has a ton of these pressures. And we have Georgia that's going to do some kind of indictment in September.
Right.
I saw this great little cartoon, and it's a lawyer sitting there with Trump, and Trump says, which, W-I-T-C-H, which trial? And the lawyer said, oh, this is the trial on the federal indictment. It's not the one on.
Yeah.
I was like, how perfect is that? So we'll still see. If Trump stumbles, do you think there's anyone that the Republican Party could rally behind that could actually save their day? Or is it they're only going to get in office if Biden stumbles at this point?
Oh, I mean, there's other, it would have to be a pretty big stumble on Trump's part for something to take him out and they get somebody else in there. I mean, they've got better candidates in the field, but, I have actually somewhat of a fondness for Chris Christie in some ways, even though I don't trust him. But I like the way, I respect the way he goes after Trump. It's just completely unafraid and just really honest in that sense. And he would make a phenomenal general election candidate because, some Democrats, I think, who are worried that Biden's too old, he might peel off some Democrats and independents, certainly. I think he'd make a great candidate. But no, I mean, it's going to be Trump. And, I actually think it's less likely, even though Trump takes terrible care of himself physically, I think it's less likely that Trump has a moment like that than Biden, only because I will say this about Trump, like Trump never seems frail or tired in the way that Biden does sometimes. Even though Biden is clearly in better physical condition, Biden was out on his bike today. So he's thin and he looks fit. But he seems tired sometimes, and Trump never really does. Trump always has that bluster about him, and he never seems frail. I don't know, but they're both up there. Anything can go wrong.
So, Mitch McConnell and Dianne Feinstein is but let's stay with Mitch. So, What do you think? Was it a mini stroke? I mean, I looked at the footage and I was like, he's having a little TIA there. Is what it looked like to me. But what do you think? And is it going to make any difference? Unless he obviously has a full-blown strike.
Yeah, I don't think he's not up for re-election for a while, I think. So he's and he has said he's going to serve out his full term, but has not said whether he'll run for re-election at the end of it. I don't think he does. But yeah, it might have been a TIA. It looked like it, but it also could have been. He's apparently had more stumbles recently than we realized. And I know there was that one pretty bad one where he ended up in the hospital. So it might have been something caused by post-concussion syndrome. It might have been a TIA caused by post-concussion syndrome. I don't know. He doesn't seem to want to talk about it. When anyone asks him, he just says, I'm fine, almost defensively. So we may never know if he continues to keep it secret. I assume he's seen a doctor. That was uncomfortable to watch. 23 seconds of him just kind of, and he looked like his face was kind of frozen too. Like that kind of thing is scary. But I don't know. I mean, if I had to guess, gun to my head, I would say it was a TIA, but I don't know.
So, have you heard anything about this new platform being released by the Republican Party saying that there needs to be more centralized control in the presidency, and it was a mistake on the part of our founding fathers that have a hamstring? You too. Have you seen that?
Well, I know that there's a plan if Trump is reelected to kind of consolidate power in the executive branch. Yeah, I haven't seen that very closely. It's not something I've closely looked at, but I know that they would like to make the executive branch a little bit more of a little more fascism and a little more autocracy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The biggest mistake they ever made when they decided to limit the president after FDR got elected 4 times was that they didn't do the same thing to Congress. It's the same principle. It's the exact same principle. If a guy gets elected for a 3rd time as president, why not? The American people voted him. Well, Congress had all sorts of reasons why they didn't want that to ever happen again. But they don't think the reverse is true. Of course, the reverse is true. If you have term limits, all 3 branches should have term limits. Nobody should be there because again, now look at Dianne Feinstein. Is she really still capable of doing her job?
Oh, clearly not. No.
Yeah.
It's that situation is horrific. I don't understand why she's there. I don't understand. I think her daughter has power of attorney now. I don't understand what's going on there. Except for there might be some pressure to keep her there because Adam Schiff doesn't want her to step down, and then Governor Newsom has to appoint somebody. Although if he got Gavin Newsom to simply appoint Adam Schiff, then maybe that would work. But yeah, Adam Schiff wants to run for Congressman Adam Schiff wants to run for the Senate, so he wants to run when Feinstein finishes up this term. But I don't. But for her to still be there, it doesn't make any sense. She doesn't know where she is. She's, there's a story out there that she's already been diagnosed with dementia, and they're keeping it quiet. It's bizarre. It's embarrassing. It's immoral. She should not be there. And there was a reporter who interacted with her when she first came back, and she didn't seem to realize that she had missed any time. She was talking about having been there the whole time. I mean, she's lost, and she's 90 years old, and it's tragic. I'm not trying to pick on her. That's what happens to some of us, unfortunately. But she should not be there. It doesn't make any sense.
No, well, you remember Strom Thurmond?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He stayed way past his expiration date.
I mean, I can understand, and some people will say it's ageist or whatever, and then, people bring up, Chuck Grassley of Iowa, I think he's 90, and but he's also taken extra measures to kind of stay with it, because he still apparently goes out and jogs every day. I don't know how at 90 someone's knees can even take that, but apparently his do. And he still goes out and runs. And of course, we all know that, the better care that you take of yourself physically, the better off you are mentally. So maybe that's why even at 90, he still seems perfectly sharp as far as I can tell. So, there's exceptions to that too. It's not like anybody who's 90 is just dissolving into a shell of their former selves. But Dianne Feinstein, she ain't no Chuck Grassley, put it that way. Clearly. I think Grassley is the exception, not the rule.
So I'm going to tell you this, and this little story, and it's not political, unless there's something else political you want to comment if there's something political you want to comment that you think people are missing. If not, I have a story I'm going to share with you. But
great! I'm curious to hear your story.
So I read this interestingly in The Guardian, which is out of England, out of the UK,
mm-hmm.
and and I don't know if you heard about it, this 87-year-old woman in Brunswick, Maine. She wakes up at 2:00 in the morning. This guy has broken in and is over her bed with a knife, saying if she says or does anything, he's going to cut her. It
mm-hmm.
turns out it was like the kid, like when he was a kid for 10 years, he mowed her lawn. And she got up and she got out of bed and thought, well, if he's going to try to cut me, I'm going to try to kick him. So she put her shoes on.
Yeah.
And he let her. And so he started to, he did hit her. He bruised her, and she, whacked him with a chair and fought back until finally he just dropped the knife. He got in through, her air conditioner not being completely secure or something. And so for whatever reason, when he got in, he had taken off his shoes and his pants. So he was there fighting her in his underwear. And he just then wandered out of the bedroom down to her kitchen, because he was familiar with the house. And she goes after him, and he says, I'm just so hungry. It's been so long since I've eaten. Now, this kid's 17 years old, and so she feeds him. She calls 911. She calls the police, but she feeds him because he's hungry.
Wow.
And he wanders off and goes out, and they pick him up on the road and put him into juvie. And she's like, I just hope he straightens his life out. You know, sometimes bad things happen to good people. She was like so compassionate about it. Had a bruise on her forehead. It also said that at 87, she still taught line dancing classes.
Oh, wow.
So that story came up as we were talking about not everybody is the same age at 90 or at 87 or whatever.
Right.
And it was Brunswick, Maine. Now, I didn't hear anything about this. I haven't heard anything about it in any of our news sources, but it made a UK newspaper. The thing they say about old Maine women is true was the headline.
Apparently, huh? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And the best part is, to me, he was hungry, so she fed him.
Yes. Wow, God bless her.
Still some good people in the world, and Matt Connarton, you're one of them.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kevin. All right, sounds good. Thank you.